Let me lay it out for you. If you don't support your partner the way they actually need it during tough times, if you push back, or worse, offer the wrong kind of help, you're not just missing the mark. You're poking a sleeping beast. Because when a man feels misunderstood or cornered in a moment of stress, the ugliest parts of him start to crawl out. You ever seen that? Yeah, you have. We like to believe that what's deep inside a man comes out when he's comfortable, when he's relaxed, when he feels safe. But truth is, the nastiest emotional mess doesn't show up when things are calm. It bubbles up when he feels unheard, disrespected, or under attack. That's when the monster shows. Now statistically, and I hate even having to say this, but the highest spikes in domestic violence? They don't happen when everything's chaotic. They happen in those eerie calm moments after a fight, when a man is in control of his body, but not his emotions. It doesn't happen while he's mid-bite of his favorite steak or mid-sprint in bed with his woman. No, it happens when he's sitting still, calculating, burning up inside, and no one notices he's about to blow. Let me tell you a story. I once saw a guy in the middle of a heated argument trying to walk away, literally trying to leave the fight. But she wouldn't let him go. She chased him, wouldn't give him space. And let me tell you something about the male brain. When one side of his head is running emotion, the logical side shuts off. It doesn't work like a woman's, where both hemispheres kind of hum along together. A man is either thinking or feeling, never both at once. And when he flips that switch to full-blown emotion, reason goes dark. And when he's locked in that emotional mode, he turns into something else. You've seen it. Eyes wide, nostrils flaring like some kind of prehistoric creature. Rage mode activated. And unlike women, who even in their angriest moments still have logic flickering in the background, a man in that state is raw instinct. Pure reaction. Hulk mode. Women, on the other hand? You're poking, still thinking clearly while you're doing it. You think it's just talking. But to him, it's a match on gasoline. If you understood how a man's emotional engine actually runs, you'd know not to corner him like that. An average guy, especially if he's tired or running low on patience, doesn't need much to ignite. One careless jab, like, "Who left socks on the table?" And boom, full combustion. He was already on edge, and now you've given him a reason to erupt. But if he's deep in thought, working something out with his logical brain, you could wave a red flag in his face, and he won't flinch. It takes a while to pull him out of that zone. So when he finally says, "Can we please stop?" that's your signal. That's him begging for a timeout before he flips. And when he does flip, most of the time, he doesn't even remember half of what happened. His emotional brain hijacks the whole show, and he blacks out on the details. That's not an excuse. That's a warning. So if you see your man losing his grip, stay quiet. I'm serious. Don't explain. Don't argue. Hand him a towel. Point him to the shower. Feed him from the freezer if you have to. Let him cool off. Let him recalibrate. He's got a storm in his skull, and the only thing that brings him back is silence, not speeches. Women calm down fast. You process stress by talking, by crying, by getting it out. That's healthy for you. But a man? He needs distance. He needs a cave. And if you care about him, you give him that space. You don't chase. You don't claw. You let him return on his own terms, when he's ready. Because trust me on this, if you don't, you're not helping. You're lighting the fuse. You ever have a woman come home and start talking about her day, what went wrong, what stressed her out, what ticked her off? And the guy immediately tenses up like she just handed him a math test. Let me make this clear. She's not asking you to fix the universe. She's not saying she doesn't love you. She's just talking. That's how women process life. It's normal. A woman needs to talk to feel balanced. That's how she works through her emotions, by dragging them out into the open, throwing them on the table, and sorting through them out loud. But if she keeps quiet all the time, yeah, there might be peace on the outside, but under that calm, there's a full-blown storm brewing. And as the old saying goes, still waters run deep, and sometimes there's a demon or two swimming in there. Now here's the flip side. If a man starts forgetting her needs, and she starts mentally logging every single one of his screw-ups like it's her part-time job, that doesn't mean they stopped loving each other. That's just a classic male-female dynamic. He forgets. She remembers everything. Why? Because men are hardwired to forget what doesn't seem urgent. Not out of spite. Just, it doesn't register. You told him to grab your almond milk on the way home? Poof. Gone. But tell him the why behind it. Hey, that almond milk means I can finally make that thing you love. Now he's listening. Now it matters. Men need relevance. Without that, straight out the memory bank. And look, families don't collapse overnight. It's not some epic explosion. No. They erode slowly, one small moment of disconnect at a time. You know what breaks most homes? Not some big betrayal, not some nuclear drama. It's something simple, quiet, and deadly: ungratefulness. Now don't twist this. I'm not here pointing fingers. But the truth is, when a woman forgets to show appreciation, when she starts taking everything for granted, resentment builds. Fast. And that resentment? It's poison. If she can't find one good reason to say, thank you, to the man she's living with, then the real question is, why is she even with him? And if she does have reasons, but still won't express them, that's on her. That's not guilt-tripping. That's just being real. Relationships are built on gratitude. Not just love. Not just passion. Gratitude. You stop feeding that, the whole foundation starts to crack. Now here's something else folks don't like to say out loud, but I will. Women carry more weight in relationships. Yeah, I said it. Because most of the time, they're the ones who start it and end it. Stats back that up. Around 95% of marriages are initiated by women. And guess what? Roughly the same percentage of divorces come from them too. That tells me something loud and clear. A relationship lives or dies by the woman's investment in it. If a man wants to keep the marriage, but she's already halfway out the door, he's got slim odds. But if she still wants it, even if he's lost, there's hope. There's a chance. A big one. So yeah, the happiness of a family? Most of it sits in her hands. Not all of it, but a good chunk. Now here's the kicker. We always joke about men being single taskers and women being multitaskers. It's funny because it's true. I had this moment the other day where I realized most people don't really get what that means. A man, when he's focused on one thing, he's blind to everything else. We're like old TVs. One channel at a time. Flip it or wait. That's it. Meanwhile, a woman can be cooking dinner, helping with homework, texting her friend, booking a doctor's appointment, and still asking if you remember to pay the electric bill. And she'll do all of it well. Not perfect, but serious near impressive. Let me prove it to you. I tried this with a group once. Gave them a basic challenge. Told them to recite part of the multiplication table. Just 4 times 1, 4 times 2. And you could see the struggle creeping in just from that. Forget multitasking. That little math drill alone threw people off. And that's just numbers. Try doing that while you're also juggling 5 emotional landmines, and dinner's burning on the stove. That's a woman's Tuesday. So yeah, fellas, we're not wired the same. Doesn't mean one's better. It just means if you're gonna make it work, you better know the difference. Now let me ask you something simple. Can you remember the multiplication table by 3? Yeah, I thought so. Most folks can rattle off 3 times 1, 3 times 2, without needing a cheat sheet. But here's the twist. You don't actually have to remember it. You just have to say you can. That's the funny part. I wasn't asking you to solve a theorem from the top of Mount Olympus or recite the Pythagorean whatever, you know, the triangle thing. Honestly, I don't even remember how that one goes. Something about the hypotenuse and a bunch of squared sides. Anyway, not the point. Point is, basic stuff like a multiplication table? Sure, you'll probably get through it. But let me toss you a real test. I hand you a deck of cards and ask you to sort them by suits, spades, diamonds, hearts, while you're saying the table out loud. Yeah, suddenly your brain's like, wait, what the hell is this? Can you do it? Maybe, but you're gonna slow down. Fast. Why? Because your brain's switching gears, back and forth like a worn-out transmission. And for men, that switch takes even longer. We're not built for rapid toggling. We lock into one thing at a time and sink deep. Now, unless you secretly spent time living inside a man's skull, you wouldn't know how this works. Which, by the way, I highly doubt. Unless your name used to be Mike, and you made a switch at 20, which, hey, no judgment, but I wasn't ready for that plot twist. It's like this old bit from Dead Souls, you know Gogol? One of the characters says, "Do you know this landowner?" And the other replies, "Nope, never heard of him. So I guess he doesn't exist." That's how most people think. I've never felt that, so it must be fake. Nah, men just operate differently. We're single-focused creatures. We can drown out the world when we lock into something. Give us a task, and we tunnel in. No side quests. That's why, if a guy is reading a book and you try to talk to him, good luck. You're shouting into a canyon. You will say, "Babe, can I tell you something?" He nods, but trust me, his brain didn't even pause. You could say, "I'm leaving for a year with your cousin," and he'll just grunt, turn the page, and keep reading. Not because he doesn't care, because he didn't hear you. Let's say your man, let's call him Dennis, is chilling after work, planted on the couch, watching something dumb but comforting on TV. That brain of his? Running at 20% capacity. Fully relaxed mode. Now you walk over and say, "Hey honey, we're out of coffee. Can you run to the store?" What happens next is not instant obedience. What really goes through his head? First reaction is, when will this woman stop ruining my peace? But he knows he can't say that. So the next thought is, well, someone's gotta get the coffee. And clearly it's not her. She's dressed nice, it's dark, she's not going. Then comes the realization, alright, fine. I love my morning coffee. She loves when I'm caffeinated and not grumpy. I'll go. But here's the kicker, he gets up and says, "Where's the bag? Where's the money?" Now he's back in the game, but only after a full loading screen. If you're a smart woman, you drop the request, then just pause. Let it marinate. Don't nag. Don't hover. Let his brain climb out of the TV coma and reboot into action mode. The average man? He can do anything, but only one thing at a time. He's not built like you. You've got 10 browser tabs open, and you're still answering emails, texting your mom, planning dinner, and somehow solving childhood trauma in the back of your head. Us? We've got one tab. And it's buffering. So yeah, next time you're wondering why your husband didn't jump at the chance to fetch almond milk at 9 p.m., it's not personal. He's just deep in couch mode. And unfortunately, couch mode is stronger than caffeine cravings, basic logic, and sometimes even love. That's the male brain for you. You ever notice how a man learns not to say certain things out loud? It's not because he's hiding. It's because he's learned, over time, that sometimes silence keeps the peace. Especially when it comes to upsetting the woman he loves. That's an experienced man. He doesn't explode. He doesn't whine. He just shifts gears, quietly. Now, a guy with less mileage? He might still grunt, mutter, drop passive-aggressive breadcrumbs. But even then, the woman usually knows. She sees it. She just lets him fuss. Lets him noodle, as they say. Because sometimes that's all it is, harmless steam. Now let's say your guy, Dennis, comes down from the second floor and says, "I'll go get the coffee." But instead of letting him go, you say, "No, don't bother. I already went." Let me tell you what just happened there. You cut his switch before it flipped. You see, when a man is shifting from chill mode into action mode, it's not instant. It's a process. You yank that rug out from under him mid-switch, and next time, he won't even try. You'll ask, "Dennis, can you go get the coffee?" And all you'll get is static. That switch is burned out now. Let me drop a story to lock this in your mind. I was once talking to a crew of train operators. Tough guys. They drive freight trains, Real iron monsters. Not your city commute. These guys told me something wild. The stopping distance on one of those things? Between 1 and 2 kilometers. Think about that. A full kilometer before the brakes even make a dent. They said sometimes they see someone on the tracks. A person, a car, even a school bus full of kids, and they can't stop. All they can do is hit the horn and pray. You know why? Because if they slam the brakes hard, the whole train could derail. Kill hundreds. That's the kind of responsibility they carry. Now think of a man like a train. When you ask him for something, and he starts to switch toward it, let him complete the transition. If you cut him off mid-process, like, "Never mind, I did it," that switch doesn't finish. He stays stuck between tracks. And next time? He's not even boarding the train. So next time you think he's dragging his feet? Remember, he was about to move. He just needed space to shift gears. That moment where you swooped in and took Platic over. That cost more than just coffee. That told him his effort wasn't needed. And if that keeps happening, one day he won't even offer. You want to get him back? You're either gonna need a clean slate or you're in for a long rebuild, like elbow deep, late night kind of work. Not impossible, but definitely not quick. And speaking of emotional weight, let me tell you what hit me hard. I heard from this woman, her husband's 27, working 2 jobs, they've got 2 little kids. The guy's completely burnt out. His company's psychologist even said it straight, emotional exhaustion. And what did she do? She tried to help. Gave him everything she had until she didn't have anything left for him, for the kids, or even for herself. You know what that is? That's the sound of a woman burning out right next to her man. 2 people drowning in different directions, both trying to stay afloat. She asked me, "How do I recharge? I'm doing everything I can, and I've got nothing left." And the answer isn't some fluffy feel-good quote from a Pinterest board. It's simple biology. Oxytocin. The connection hormone. The one your body produces when you're held, touched, listened to. That stuff? It matters. You want to bounce back from stress? You don't need 10 more self-help books. You need connection. Massage. Warmth. Laughter. That feeling that says, "I'm safe here." But here's the part no one tells you. If you're constantly in survival mode, giving to everyone and recharging from no one, you'll crash. Oxytocin doesn't come from doing dishes. It doesn't come from grinding. It comes from being seen, heard, touched. So stop treating burnout like a badge of honor. Start treating it like a red light on your dashboard. Because if the woman crashes, the whole house goes down with her. Look, I could come back next year and give you this same talk all over again. Wouldn't even need to change a slide. Why? Because half of you got memory like a goldfish. 3 seconds and it's gone. And no shame in that, by the way. Stress fries memory. You try to learn while your brain's running in survival mode? Good luck retaining anything past your morning coffee. And here's the hard truth. Stress doesn't just go away because you want it to. You don't think yourself calm. You feel your way back through real, lived moments. For women, that means oxytocin. Connection. Safety. Cuddles, massage, warmth. A good cry with someone who gets it. There's no alternate route. That's the whole serious hit parade. Now I hear women say this a lot. But I wanted to help him. I really tried. And my response is always the same. Could you? Who told you that you could? How exactly were you planning to help a man? Like a man needs to be helped. Because here's what most people don't realize. A stressed out man doesn't need oxytocin. He doesn't need warm words or emotional bubble wrap. His stress relief comes from something else entirely. Testosterone. You want to help him? Then you have to trigger that. But that means setting the stage for him to do the things that fuel his system. You know what builds testosterone? Not pep talks. Not tea and sympathy. No. Testosterone spikes from goal setting, competition, danger, dominance, problem solving, urgency, risk, results. Now let me ask you, did you give him that? Or did you give him you? Because here's what usually happens. A woman sees her man struggling, And instead of stepping back and letting him climb, she throws herself down into the pit with him. Starts solving his problems. Making decisions. Shouldering his burdens like they're hers. That's not help. That's codependency with a cape on. And you know what happens next? She burns out. She starts running on fumes. No oxytocin, no emotional release, nothing left in the tank. Meanwhile, the guy never got to step up. Never got to face the fire, punch through it, and feel like a man again. And now she's exhausted, and he's still stuck. Two people, one hole. No ladder. It's not selfish to let him struggle. It's essential. See, women try to help men the way they would want to be helped. Like it's universal. But it's not. That's the trap. She starts comforting him, softening the world, taking things off his plate, and the whole time, she's killing the very system that would have saved him. You think helping means protecting him from hard things. But what he really needed was to face the hard things head-on, come out swinging, and earn his peace. I talked about this once in a seminar years ago. Energy, where it comes from, where it leaks out. And I remembered this guy I know, a contractor. Specializes in home insulation. Now here's the twist. Before he starts adding insulation, he dismantles everything. Why? Because heat doesn't just escape from everywhere. It finds weak spots. Cracks. Gaps. Corners you forgot about. And if you don't know where those are, you end up overworking everything, and still freezing in the dead of winter. That's what helping a man is like. If you don't know where he's losing energy, don't just throw more emotional blankets over him. You gotta look deeper. Study him. Learn his wiring. Ask yourself, what's missing? What does he need to feel strong again? Because most men, we don't need someone to fix us. We need someone to believe we can fix it ourselves. Let the man hunt. Let him chase. Let him compete. Don't rob him of that. You're not protecting him. You're disarming him. And if you don't know where to start, then start with this. Stop doing his job for him. Let him sweat. Let him fall. Let him get back up. That's testosterone. That's healing. That's how you really help a man. So picture this. Some educational video or seminar or whatever says, it's freezing in winter, and we need to insulate the walls. Alright, fair enough. But then someone asks, do you think 15 centimeters of foam is gonna cut it? And I'm sitting there like, do you know how much heat 15 centimeters of styrofoam actually holds? Not much. That's like tossing a hoodie over a snowman and hoping it turns into spring. You know what 15 centimeters of foam is equal to? Maybe 2 meters of air-dried dreams. Brick? That's a whole other level. A wall made from 2.5 bricks. That's solid. But even then, people still want to slap foam over it like it's gonna fix everything. Meanwhile, the real problem's up in the attic, which is probably just clay and cold drafts. Here's the point. You can't keep heat in if you don't first figure out where it's escaping. You don't fix the house by patting everything at random. You fix it by finding the real leak. And it's the same with energy. A woman says, how do I get my strength back? Well, you gotta figure out where it's leaking out. If you're running on empty, exhausted, drained, don't just try to rest. That's like adding foam to a house with no ceiling. First, figure out what's sucking the life out of you. Where's it going? Because here's what too many women do. They throw themselves into fixing the relationship, fixing the man, fixing everything. Rebuild, rescue, redo, repair, until there's nothing left. And then, they wonder why they've got nothing in the tank. You ever seen a guy blow through his paycheck and then complain he's broke? You ask him where the money went, and he looks at you like that was your job to figure out. Then you dig a little and find out he's paying $5 million a month on some weird loan to a neighbor he barely knows. Allegory? Maybe. But the point still stands. You can't fix a drain by earning more. You fix it by closing the leak. And here's what kills me. Women see their man working 2 jobs and they think, I'll help by taking on 2 jobs too. No. That's not helping. That's jumping into quicksand with him. You want to help? Put your real oxygen mask on first. You ever been on a plane? That little speech they give before takeoff? In case of emergency, put your mask on first before assisting others. It's not just about altitude. That's life advice. And men? We get it. Most of us already live that way. We know we're useless to others if we're drowning ourselves. But women hear that, and the guilt kicks in instantly. No, I'll help my kids first. I'll make sure the cat's fed. I'll take care of the husband, the neighbor, the cactus. And if there's anything left, maybe I'll remember to breathe. It's like their entire identity is built around last place. They give up their energy, their sleep, their body, their sanity, and then stand over the wreckage and say, I gave you my best years. You ever hear a man say that? I gave you the best years of my life. No, you haven't. And if you did, he was probably quoting a soap opera or just being a jerk. Because men don't say that. It's not in our vocabulary. We don't give our years, we live them. We build, we sweat, we stumble. But we don't martyr ourselves on the altar of sacrifice. Women do. And that's exactly why half of them are sitting around right now having an emotional epiphany, like someone rolled away a tombstone and said, Rise, Lazarus. Let me make it simple. You want to heal? You want to get your energy back? Start taking care of yourself like you actually matter. Not after the chores. Not when everyone else is fine. Not if there's time. Start now. You're not being selfish. You're being smart. You're fixing the leak. And you're finally putting your real mask on. If you keep ignoring your own needs to rescue everyone else, especially your man, you'll burn out, lose yourself, and kill the very connection you were trying to save. Because true help starts with knowing how men and women recharge differently and finally putting your own oxygen mask on first. If this hit home or hit a nerve, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're not here to sugarcoat, we're here to wake up, level up, and laugh a little along the way. Let's keep it real.